Oh, let's see.
Hello and
Twitter?
welcome to Fandom Spotting. Yeah, Twitter. Sorry, this is Asia, and I'm here with Erin, and it's going to be a small crowd today. We were supposed to have Gab and Zan joining us, but they both had traffic issues, so I'm not sure that either of them are going to be there today. And I also want to apologize because we haven't done this in a while. We've been trying to do episodes, but for those of you who don't know, Fandom Spotting has had a couple of hiccups lately in that YouTube kicked off of our let's see, they kicked us off for doing an episode that we accidentally entitled porn, and because it had, I guess because it had the word porn in it, because it wasn't actually that explicit. They banned us from doing live hangouts for a really long time. I think like 6 months. So then we tried to move to a different account, but they banned that one because they didn't like think it had a real like name. Like basically YouTube has like a names policy. So we got kicked off that one, and now we're on account 3. So I just want to say thank you to the people who have been here and stuck with us through all of these things. We're going to try and make this episode fun. We're going to talk about Tumblr. But first we want to talk about like why Tumblr matters. Erin, do you want to jump in and talk a little bit about why you think Tumblr is important to fandom, why, how it's become so, et cetera, et cetera?
Oh, wasn't really prepared for this question. Um, I guess, to be honest, I think that people got really into Tumblr because of the image functions, which gave it a very different purpose than LiveJournal, because LiveJournal primarily was used for words. And I think I know I've drawn Tumblr because I was like, not only are there like lots of funny pictures and memes, there's also a way to like be like, oh yeah, look at this actor, he or she's so hot, whatever, which suited a very different purpose than LiveJournal did, which was more about like I trying to think of a discourse. Um, and I think that what makes Tumblr really different than like LiveJournal is also the tags, which means that you could look at anyone, whereas LiveJournal was more having to actually physically like find people. And so I know that for me, like how Tumblr kind of began to become more important, and then I guess just that people started using it more and more. Going back to LiveJournal seemed almost like having too many like social media, especially with the addition of Tumblr. I mean, sorry, Twitter.
Yeah, and I also want to just sort of broaden the focus a bit because we, Aaron, are you still with us? Your mic is kind of like fuzzy, so okay. uh, if you guys can't hear me, if we're having, I think we've been having a lot of technical difficulties today, so I apologize for that too. I want to say that, we are so used to thinking, especially in our corner of fandom, is thinking of LiveJournal and fandom as being kind of synonymous. And Tumblr has sort of exploded that myth pretty wide. But I think that, we might want to remember, too, that, like, for a lot of the people who are just coming onto Tumblr, they've never even heard of LiveJournal. They've never heard of the AO3. They don't remember, a time when they were using, Yahoo groups for mailing lists and fandom and so forth. I mean, Tumblr has really broadened and really made public, I think, people's idea of what being in a fandom is, and just how big how big fandom is. Because Tumblr has 100 million active blogs on it every single day. That's staggering. And when you consider that most of those blogs are about fandom, or at least to some extent encompass, fandom topics, it's just sort of mind-boggling, honestly. I mean, LiveJournal, I think, had, at its peak, I think it had 700,000. I mean, it's just the difference is staggering. And I think it's also, I mean, it's made people, I think, or not, I won't say it's made, but I think it's definitely helped in a great deal to mainstream fandom, especially in the last 2 years. What do you think about that, Erin?
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Isn't that a big thing that happened when Tumblr was being bought by Yahoo? That suddenly there are all these people being like, oh my god, Tumblr's for fandom, Tumblr's for fandom. Um, in a way that when it was all by when what was it called, LiveJournal, that people were kind of like, oh well, it's only for fandom. It was more kind of like, oh no, they're not gonna like us being there because we kind of invaded their like other lives, not get anything. And I think that's a lot I get to do, kind of tagging and kind of being like anonymously kind of search through like different topics, which makes it a bit of, it's not quite a blog. But yeah, Tumblr, I mean, what do you have a Tumblr about if you don't have a Tumblr about fandom?
Right. Well, there's a whole lot of artists. I mean, obviously there are a ton of artists on Tumblr, but there's also like there's a lot of artists outside of fandom. There are a lot of there's also a music subculture there. There's a lot of design blogs, lots of fashion blogs. But yeah, I mean, there are plenty of people who aren't in fandom, but even the people who aren't in fandom, you know, are still getting, because like you said, tags are universal, and because your dashboard is, you know, you can't really, there's not an easy filtering system for your dashboard. So if even one of your followers is semi-fanish, you know, you're going to get fan posts on your dashboard. You know, it's sort of just this sort of overwhelming onslaught of stuff. I think it's also partly like what's great about Tumblr too is because it's just it's kind of a microcosm of humanity on the internet, right? It's just so intense and so immense, and it's not just that there's so many people on Tumblr, but the actual amount of content that they generate is absurd. It's something like 10 billion posts a week. I'm probably that stat may not be right, but it's definitely over 1 billion posts a week. Like, just think about that, over 1 billion posts, and I think that's also including reblogs. But like, I mean, think how many times like you're reading your dashboard, and you know, you get like the 100. Like, if you're me and you're following like, I don't know, 1,000 people, I think I follow like 1,500 blogs on Tumblr, which may be high for a lot of you. But for me, because I report on fandom, I like to try and get a cross section. Like the little 100 notification button on my dash, it's like it's constantly like 100 plus, 100 plus, 100 plus. Like, it just never ends. Like, it's just constantly every 2 seconds another 100 posts pop up on my dashboard, and that's just, you know, I'm only following 1,500 blogs. I mean, there are 100 million. You know, it's just it's really the intensity level of Tumblr. Is kind of overwhelming, and sometimes I have to take breaks from it. Sometimes I just can't do it.
Yeah, but I think that it's also, I don't know, like something that this whole like One Direction Wayne kind of stuff like showed me was that apparently like kids sit like at school with their Tumblr apps open on their phones like all day long and just constantly refreshing Tumblr.
Sorry, could you say that? Could you say that bit again? I got One Direction. I didn't quite. You're sort of cutting out.
Oh.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I think it's my terrible like in-computer mic. But I was saying that like one thing that the One Direction like kind of showed me was that there seemed to be like a lot of kids who just sit and have their Tumblr app open on their phones all day, and they just like sit in their classes and just like refresh Tumblr, refresh Tumblr, refresh Tumblr.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, back in the day, it seems so long ago now, but like before Tumblr, I mean, if something happened, the first place that you always went was LiveJournal. You know, you would just like go to your LiveJournal friends list, and it used to be possible that you could catch up on your LiveJournal friends list. But now it's like on Tumblr, I mean, there's no way to ever catch up. So if you want to know what's happening, you have to like stay on top of your dashboard, right? You have to refresh to see what people are saying, because if you miss it, you've missed it.
Yeah, basically, which I guess it's kind of like, I liken it to like fandom wank or something, when like a really huge wink was going down and like you're refreshing and refreshing and refreshing, but you can't keep up with how many comments there are and how many there's a new page or whatever, except with Tumblr, there's like millions of people doing it at once. It's a bit different.
Yeah, and I think too that's also part of the generational shift that we're seeing. I mean, One Direction fans have a whole lot to do with this too, just by themselves, because they're so massive on Tumblr. If you guys aren't familiar with like the population of Tumblr, last year, my friend Lauren Orsini for the Daily Dot she talked to Tumblr and got them to send us a list of the top 10 Tumblr tags, like the top 10 tags that people on Tumblr were using most. And you can think of this as like really showing you like what the communities are, because I mean there can be like 10 million people talking about love any given moment, but they're not all going to tag it love, right? But when you have 10 million Larry fans talking about Larry, you can make damn sure that they're going to tag it Larry, because that's like the convention of the community. So she got these 10 Tumblr tags back, and I'm just going to read them. Just give me just a second to I should have Googled this beforehand, but just give me just a second to look these up. Top 10 Tumblr tags. Where are you? Did you join us? Laurel, is that you?
Sup?
Hi. Looking up the top 10 tags.
Hi, Laurel.
Hey, friends.
So, yeah, there we go. 10 most popular tags on Tumblr. So this is from a year ago, and we're currently trying to get them to update the statistic. They said that they would, but then they haven't gotten back to me. But this is actually published on June 22nd of last year. And on June 22nd of last year, the #1 most popular tag on all of Tumblr, with all of Tumblr's, at that time I think it had 70 million users. Now it's up to 100 million. But the #1 popular tag was One Direction, followed by EXO, which if you don't know EXO is a K-pop band, which is wildly popular. And again, it doesn't really mean, Laurel, could you mute your mic? Or whoever's typing, could you mute your mic? Thank you. It doesn't mean that everybody on Tumblr is talking about this. It just means that there is a huge consolidated community of people who are using the same tag to generate their discussion. So #1, One Direction. #2, EXO. #3, Tom Hiddleston. #4, love. Nice generic word, love. #5, Harry Styles. #6, quotes. #7, Larry Stylinson. #8, and this one is definitely not on the list now because we haven't had from this fandom like Korra, which was the Avatar sequel. And then #9 was Loki from the Avengers, and #10 was Funny. So out of the 10 popular tags on Tumblr, only 3 of them were generic. Love, quotes, funny. And everything else was a fandom tag. Like literally every other thing on this list was a fandom tag being used as part of a fandom community. And 1, 2, 3 of them were specific to One Direction fans. So that really gives you an idea of the makeup of the Tumblr community. So Laurel, we were just talking about that in terms of like how like the One Direction fandom and how like the way that these communities are using tags to really propel their discussion is sort of changing fandom and changing the way fandom has discussions, and really even what do you guys think about that? Do you feel like that is contributing to like sort of a generational fandom shift?
I think it's interesting because you can roll through tags and talk to people in your fandom without ever like knowing who they are or having ever interacted with them, you know? Which is interesting. I don't really spend a lot of time in tags because I prefer interacting with people on the Tumblogs that I know.
Yeah, but there are a lot of people who do, because you can also subscribe to tags, and that's why the "don't tag your hate" mantra gets repeated a lot.
Right, no, I know. So I think that's kind of a thing. Like the communities are a little more disparate. Like you might not know people in the Larry Stylinson tag, but I guess you guys are all friends because everybody is a Larry Stylinson fan.
I don't think it's that simple. I mean, there's a lot of infighting in that fandom. But yeah, like.
But
there's a sense that you're supposed to stay out of a tag, not in. Like if you're like an elementary fan, don't go into the Sherlock tag to diss them, and vice versa. If you're in the Sherlock fandom, don't go into the elementary tag to complain about elementary, right? Because you're not one of them.
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, when I want to look at gifs of Lucy Liu and Johnny Lee Miller being adorable together, it is really obnoxious to go in and find like 18 screeds about why elementary is secretly a homophobic, terrible thing.
Yeah, and I had an interesting moment recently because I have never really given much, I guess, it's not that I didn't respect the don't tag your hate thing, but I was confused because to me, like being able to discuss things and talk about why they may or may not be problematic or why they're awesome is a huge part of fandom, and it's a huge part of fandom discussion to me. And I didn't understand, like, because to me, when you're going into the elementary tag to, you know, criticize Sherlock or to talk about whatever, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're tagging your hate. It just means that you're trying to generate a critical discussion, right? And
Well,
I was telling this to my friend Cleo, and Cleo was like, "No, it's not that you're not allowed to have the debate. It's just that that the people reading the elementary tag only want to read a certain kind of conversation, and they don't want to get into the critical conversation. Then they only want to they want to be able to organize things and find the things that they want on the tag."
I
And
think
was
the
kinda
thing
like,
is there's
"Oh."
like a difference between a critical discussion and just whining. Also, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like people in some tags, I mean, I guess it depends on the fandom too and how people interact with each other, but like in some tags it's cool to see like Teen Wolf has a lot of critical discussion in the tags, and I don't think anyone's really considered that like tagging your hate. But if you were like, here are like the 20 reasons why I just straight up hate Teen Wolf, instead of like, these are the 20 reasons why I find Teen Wolf problematic and I want to talk about it.
Right.
You know, those two things are different.
Right, and there's also, it's not just tagging your hate, but it's also that, like, when you've had the same discussion, which I know elementary and Sherlock fans have had the same discussion 20 million times, um, you know, there's only so much mileage you can get out of seeing the same argument on your tags over and over and over again, right?
Yeah, that's real tedious.
But that sort of, like, I mean, again, you look at the One Direction fandom, and it seems like they have the same arguments about Larry and versus Eleanor every single 5 seconds, you know. So, yeah, Erin?
I was going to say, though, I'm not sure that there is, like, a Tumblr-wide fandom etiquette.
Yeah.
Because I do feel that, for instance, things like Teen Wolf and, I mean, lately, like Hannibal and Supernatural and things like that, people do seem to have these discussions. But in fandoms that seem to skew much lower, I mean, like younger ages, they seem to view sort of critical discussion as a tax. And I am thinking like of the Larry Silences fandom, where like if someone comes in and says like, "Hey guys, I'm not entirely sure that this is real," like they immediately get attacked with like, "Why are you here?" I mean, not that I like stalk the Larry, Silence and Tag or anything.
Sure.
But like I don't know, I just feel that it's hard. We can't really say that like everyone on Tumblr has the same kind of thing going on. I think it's much more like each fandom on Tumblr seems to have its kind of like subculture and then again its own rules and etiquette.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. And I don't know if like I feel like don't tag your hate is also an argument that shows up all the time over and over again. So I do think the sort of like, because Tumblr is really shitty as like a content archive, that kind of it lends itself to having like circular discussions a lot more than maybe other like social media. Like I guess LJ is like a social media, so where you can be like, no, that's cool, we already talked about why elementary isn't super homophobic, so I'm just gonna link back to this thing. Versus Tumblr, like if there's not necessarily like places you can link back to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. You have to have the same discussion 30 million times because it just disappears into the other once it's gone, right? Like there's no sense of permanence on Tumblr. This is something that a lot of people have told me. Like when we get together to gripe about Tumblr, not that all we do is gripe, but like a lot of people are like, you can't archive anything, you can't really find anything, you can't even search your own tags if you didn't use the first 5. If for some reason, like, I want to tag something with, I don't know, with Eames, right? even on my own journal, if I don't use the tag Eames in the first 5 tags that I use, I can't search that post. It won't come up later when I search my journals, when I search my own Tumblr for things that are tagged Eames. And a lot of people don't know that. Like, there are a lot of like Tumblr tricks and things, which we'll get into later, but like those kinds of things make it really difficult for Tumblr to have any memory. And it's not just that Tumblr doesn't really, like, a lot of the new people on Tumblr don't have a greater sense of
Whoa.
Yeah, sorry, I'm in Brooklyn, and I think we just had a semi-trailer pass us by. Sorry.
No, that's cool. It happens. So this is all the stuff that you've discussed in your weekly Tumblr bashing sessions?
Not that I have them weekly, probably more like daily, but like, no, I mean, I love Tumblr. I'm a huge Tumblr fan, and obviously I use it all the time, but like, I also have a ton of issues with Tumblr. And I think that it's not just the youth of today that are using Tumblr that don't have like a memory of like the historic fandom past that all the rest of us might.
Kids.
You know, it's not like that. It's also just that, you know, the history that we're creating right now on Tumblr is getting lost every second because Tumblr doesn't have a way to preserve that history.
Yeah, like it's really obnoxious to like try to find stuff that you've posted, or like when you see a post come up and you're like, hey, I already addressed that point. Maybe it would be useful for me to link this into discussion. Oh shit, I have to find something on my own journal. That actually came up with me like this week because in Avengers fandom, I don't know if the context is necessary or not, but it took me like freaking ever to find this post that I'd already made because I didn't really want to like pull out links and stuff again.
Like, I just use Google. Like, I Google my own Tumblr for posts that I've made because I'm not going to be able to find it through Tumblr. And I think it's really interesting that really the only improvement that Yahoo made when they bought out Tumblr, or not the only improvement, but like the only thing that they said that they might change would be the search function, because it's like they knew that that's the only thing that they could possibly change that that they could contribute to that we would want, you know?
Well, I mean, also Yahoo isn't a search engine.
Yeah, they're a search engine. Yeah, but like it's really interesting. I thought that was the very first thing that they focused on. You know, not we're going to give you a reblogging system that actually is, you know, conducive to conversation or et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I mean, but that's not necessarily what people are tumbling for. So I feel like the search function is something that doesn't change how people are using Tumblr. So it makes a lot of sense that would be what they focus on, because Lord knows they don't want to come in and be like, yo, check out this brand new, like, they changed like the format of posts, I guess, but that actually made it more intuitive. Like, that was a good UX decision, I think. It's just that we've all been trained to do it in like a less intuitive manner, but I don't think they wanted to roll in and be like, yo, this is how you should use Tumblr now.
I would be so happy if they introduced a completely different layout. Like, I hate the Tumblr layout so much.
It's really clunky, and it's really difficult to scroll intuitively. Like, when you're scrolling your dashboard, like, you can use the keyboard shortcuts, but if you like switch to the spacebar, then you only get like photos popping up, and you have to like use your mouse to click back on them, and then you have to like reinitiate the keyboard search, and it's really clunky. Like, I hate it.
Wait, what? I don't have this problem at all.
Like, when you're using your keyboard search, right, and you want to like scroll, like, because the J key only gets you to the bottom of a post, right? But if I want to scroll down like a really long post without like going to the bottom immediately, like, I have to use my spacebar, right? But if that post is a photo post, then I just get photos popping up in my face, so I have to like click off of them. Then
why don't you just use page up and page down?
Yeah,
because
like some arrows.
I don't know. Shut up.
So
God, Asia.
What we've learned is that Asia has a spacebar problem.
But that's not all. I'm sure there are other reasons, because I just don't like going to my dashboard. It feels overwhelming and hard to use, and especially part of it is that
Asia, you old.
I'm totally old.
No, I feel even older. I don't even use keyboard shortcuts. I don't know what this J key does.
The J key, like, the J and K key will like take you to the top and bottom of a post, basically.
I think she's page up and page down.
Whoa, holy shit, it does.
And you can do and you can do like Alt R to do an automatic reblog, but then you lose yeah.
But that doesn't give you tags and shit.
Yeah,
right?
well, you can use like you have to use like a third party thing if you actually want tags on your dashboard. But like I use Xkit. I was using Missing E, but Tumblr was like, oh no, we can't have that. So I think
Oh, it's Missing E not work anymore. I use Missing E. I don't know how this works.
It doesn't. Missing E, like they changed so many things that Missing E doesn't really work anymore. Like you can't. There's a lot of stuff you can't do with like replies in your inbox and stuff. And there's some other stuff. But if you use Xkit, which is another third-party tool that combines a lot of the functionality of Missing E and Tumblr Savior, I think they're pretty good about updating it. Like they had an update out immediately when Tumblr's latest interface change went through. So so far they've been really reliable. So if you're looking for a third-party like Tumblr thing to sort of take over where Missing E has sort of fallen by the wayside, then Xkit is what I would recommend. So yeah, it's XKIT. Sorry, thanks, Erin.
Oh, wait, if we were talking about tags, can we talk about how obnoxious it is that some tags are just completely fucking overrun by porn? And I just want to look at, like, cool posts about, like, Latina culture or Latina style, but instead I get...
Oh, God, yeah.
Boobs everywhere. I totally forgot to bring this up, but I think there's a couple Tumblrs that are, like, reclaiming, like, the Latina tag and, like, reclaiming a couple other tags like that because it's
That's
just,
awesome.
like,
That's really great.
I don't want to look at, like, porn every time I search a tag for my ethnic group. And like I think that's kind of interesting because Tumblr has like similar to like Twitter and then Black Twitter. Tumblr has like Tumblr and like Black Tumblr and I guess like social justice Twitter.
Yeah, like, the one thing that Tumblr is really good at is helping you find your community. You know, because
and if any of y'all listeners know of like where Latino Tumblr is, I would like to know because I can't find it because it's just porn.
Aw.
It's really frustrating.
But I was just going to say, like, if you can find even one blog, you know, that has that topic, they're going to be hopefully reblogging other people.
Yeah.
You know, and that will help you find things.
I have been finding some. But I know Tumblr is really popular in South America, but there's just not, like, I have to wade through, like, Spanish language Tumblr, which is cool, but I'm not super great at Spanish, so... But
so,
yeah, so there's also like that whole part of Tumblr that I don't think we've talked about, but it looks like we got a question from Twitter. Sorry, I just wanted to bring that up before we stop talking about tags. Because I
was going to try and transition into like talking about like different types of stuff on Tumblr, and I think talking about tags and talking about like, you know, the different communities is sort of there. But we had a question from Violet Blackus on Twitter. What a question. Why is fanfic so rubbish on Tumblr? Difficulty commenting is obviously an issue, right? But then AO3 doesn't see many comments either. Oh, this is, wow. So this is a huge thing because you see people linking to AO3 fics all the time on Tumblr. So it's not that people aren't reading on AO3. And you just had that huge fandom charity. So this is right after the archive ran, or the OTW ran its own own spring fund drive, and every year we do a spring fund drive in the spring and then a membership drive in the fall. So we just had our spring drive, and then like immediately a week after that, and we raised like, I don't know, $30,000 during the spring drive, so awesome. But immediately after that, like we had a group of fans come to us. I'm on the development and membership team for OTW, so I'm the one that we run the fund drive. And we had a group of fans on Tumblr.
That's good information to know, so that you're not just a giant like disembodied entity of all fandom.
No, yes, you know, I'm actually on the committee that works on the fund drive.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you. Yes, we are fandom, but we had a group of fans come to us and tell us that they wanted to do, just because they loved AO3 so much, they wanted to do a fund drive for AO3, and they raised like what, $40,000 because basically they decided that they would write fanfic for each other just because they loved AO3, and it was all done through Tumblr. And it was just like staggering. There were like hundreds of people who contributed. So it's not that that the love for fanfic isn't there on Tumblr, right? It's not that like the AO3 isn't getting love from Tumblr, which I think it's amazing, but I think it's just that the ways that we engage with fanfic are changing. Like you're not going to get like the thing about AO3 is it has kudos, right? So like the kudos in some sense I think discourage people from leaving feedback, because why write something?
Well, that's a totally different, like we could have like a whole fucking day
right.
of people talking about kudos.
But her Twitter comment says, but then AO3 doesn't see any comments either. So I think that's part of why. And so like that's its own thing, right? So the kudo thing. But then you've got like on Tumblr, you've got this whole like system where you can't really like do a back and forth with somebody. So there's not as much like, I guess, impetus to engage. What do you guys think about that?
I think it sounds really urgent when the ambulance is going on behind you when we talk about it. I think fanfic is like shitty looking on Tumblr because Tumblr isn't like super built for long text posts. And then if you're like, hey, I love this fic, you have to reblog the whole goddamn fic. And that's that's a little weird. Like, I mean, obviously you have a read more tag. And I mean, it appears that there are thriving communities of people writing fic on Tumblr, but from what I've seen in some of my fandoms, people post fic on Tumblr that they maybe wouldn't necessarily post on AO3. Like, there's a lot of not fic happening, and people being like, and like response fic to like images and stuff, which I really like.
I really love response fic. Like, I think that's sort of a different like hybrid form of fan work that's sort of appeared because of Tumblr, and I love those things. Like, I think we can make a whole argument that Tumblr is like, even if it's not boosting fanfic isn't going away. There's just more types of fan work that are happening on Tumblr.
I love that. But that's a format that Tumblr is really good at. Like, here's some images and here's some posts, and people aren't writing like 10K response fics. So I think a lot of times people will like throw stuff up on Tumblr that they might not consider finished, or like I know that happens in Teen Wolf fandom. People are like, well, here's an idea that I'm going to write about, and then people can respond and be like, oh my god, I love that idea, and then people are like, yo, here's a little snippet of fic, and then it just doesn't necessarily turn into like a fully resolved fic. So that is kind of a way for people to interact with each other about like fandom ideas without it being totally like would say like the most fic like thing that shows up on my dash a lot. But I think like you can I think just like kudos on Tumblr, if you post your fic you're gonna get a lot of likes, but not necessarily people being like, here's a really great like description of your fic and why I really liked it, because that's like, I mean, are you really gonna reblog 10K about that so you can put in a sentence about it? Probably not.
Yeah, like one thing I've noticed on my dash, and I do have to put a disclaimer here that I only follow like 20 people. Like I looked today and it was like 23 or something like that. But one thing I've noticed is like somebody will.
You hate everyone.
No, I just hate everyone. No, actually, it's because I mostly check Tumblr at work because I spend a lot of hours. For those who don't know, I work at a college and I'm a librarian, so I spend a lot of time just like sitting at the inquiry desk. And the students can see my computer if they look hard enough. So I don't want to sit there and be like, oh yeah, I'm looking up like smut or whatever. So I only follow like a handful of people who don't normally post like really like graphic things. But I guess the answer to that is to get 2 Tumblrs, but to be honest, I'm lazy. But no, like one thing I've noticed is that like somebody will start, like they'll post like a little snippet of like a story or like a response to a picture or whatever, and then somebody else will reblog that and like add to it, and then somebody else will reblog that and add to that, and it might be a joke and it might be really funny or whatever, but and it's very different in the way that we would do it like on LiveJournal. Like I remember, I mean like Asia and I and like Gab and I having like huge like fake Inception stories for like Cop as a Republican, you know, all these like really hilarious things. It was like having to like respond to the comment, like comment. Yeah. Direct crash, comment. And it's very different to see it done on LiveJournal, I mean on Tumblr, which is kind of like the ideal for doing that. Like that would have been so much fun if we'd had this around when we'd been writing little stories like that back, like in Inception fandom back in the day.
I don't know though, because people get mad when you do that on Tumblr. Like whenever I've had like back and forth like that, like people like yell at me and like defriend me and unfollow me. So I don't know. Like I don't know what the solution is. Like I would really love it for that to be like an acceptable like thing. I mean, I guess again that's like what Anna was saying on Twitter about. Anna left us a comment on Twitter about how she thinks that yeah, there are different like communities in Tumblr that have different etiquette and mores essentially, and so yeah, I think that's like some people are like all about the round robins and like the back and forth, and to other people it's like no Tumblr is for pictures, get your text off my dash, right?
Yeah,
like,
I don't know, man. I don't think I've ever seen anyone get pissed off about like a back and forth or round robin on Tumblr. You got some finicky followers, man.
Yeah, I've gotten people like who get mad at me for that. I've gotten people who get mad at me because when I post things, I comment on them, which is a whole separate like. Because I guess they think that if I'm just reblogging something, I should just reblog it and shut up. But like, why would I want to reblog it if I didn't want to comment on it? You know, like to me, that's like what Tumblr, like, well, what my fandom participation is about. And Tumblr may be image based and it may be image heavy, but you know, if I can't like, I want to engage critically with something, even if it's just being like, hey, here's why I like this and think it's awesome, you know. But
yeah, I think the only problem is when people there's like I've seen people get pissed off when content gets deleted, like when people are like, oh fuck your little tiny story, I'm just gonna delete all this shit and reblog it, and it's like, nah, that's there for a reason.
yeah, I don't do that except sometimes on sometimes when I'm reblogging directly from my dash, like I'll hit the like there's an option on Xkit that lets you like append your comment to the thing, and sometimes it doesn't work and it overrides it. But I mean, other than that, I would never do that because I mean the whole point is to add to the conversation, right? Not erase somebody else's. But yeah, so there's that, and then there's like there's GIF culture, right? And
yeah, GIF culture is sweet.
Yeah, and it also
Thank God
like
for the internet in 1996, man.
but yeah, I love the way that GIFs actually like allow us to like write sort of mini. I mean, not me. I don't say me because I am not skilled enough at GIFs. I can't even figure out how to like get GIFs on Image Ready again. But like the people who can do GIFs, who are making like all of these like mini AUs in GIF sets, that blows my mind. Like there was one where like Colton Haynes and Styles' dad were like lovers. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
Yes, that was
awesome.
amazing. That was like my thing of the week one week because it was just so good.
I really love the there's like a really good Teen Wolf Jurassic Park AU gift set and a really good X-Men one. I love AU gift sets. There's a good Star Trek one going around right now where they're the Inception crew.
Ooh, I want links to all of these. I would really love to see the Jurassic Park one. I'd love to see an Inception Jurassic Park one. That would be amazing.
Yeah. So I like that shit is awesome. I don't really have anything better to say than like people who are good at GIFs make some really kick-ass shit, and Tumblr is like the perfect venue for that because I don't think like LJ would have like I know people use GIFs in comments, but I don't know.
Well, there was on, like, back in the day when I was in JE fandom and J-pop fandom, GIFs they weren't, like, reaction GIFs, but, like, GIFs of performances were just starting to be big. And they took hours to make, and, like, the post would be, they would take hours to load, and it was, like, but that was, like, sort of starting to be, like, the big thing. And I just remember it taking forever to actually load. And so, like, you had all these people in comments going, why? This won't work on my computer. I can't see any of these things.
Oh, so. Yeah. I often wonder, like, what Pop Slash fandom would have been like with, like, more GIFs, because people would make, like, these tiny, like, pulled from VHS, like, shitty-ass GIFs of, like, Aww. This is my floor humping, like, dance and shit, and it would be, like, and that would get passed around, but it would be, like, this is, as high-res enough as we can get, so, I feel like it would have been, like, a really good venue for that kind of fandom. / it is a really good venue for that kind of fandom now. So
yeah, totally.
I feel a lot of fandoms could have really benefited. I'm thinking of like in FGA, like just images with like John Shepard's oh shit emotion face. like
Oh,
every
God,
other
yes.
post.
Also,
Oh, God, feeling.
we have some questions or some comments from Tumblr. Duck Girly pointed out to us that, God, I wish people would note what the original clips are from with AU gift sets. Some of the stuff is quite obscure.
I have that problem, like, with just normal gift sets that show up on my dash, too, where I'm like, oh, these are pretty people doing cool shit. What is this from? Why didn't you tag this? So I think that's true. I would like more, like, source attribution for all things.
That happens, though, with, like, videos. Like, yesterday, or 2 days ago, my editor tried to assign me a Game of Thrones reaction video that he said was of Ben Savage from Boy Meets World, and I was like, dude, this is Fred Savage from The Princess Bride. So,
wow.
Yeah, so it happens. We also have a comment from Toujours Guy. I would never say her name right, I'm sorry. Toujours Guy. And she points out that, like, unlike LJ, my feed is coming in. I can't read it. Unlike LJ, where you can accumulate all of that in one post, each new contribution takes up more space in your dash.
That's true.
So that's interesting. Yeah, like you're sort of like sort of briefly hogging attention for the moment that you're there, right?
Well, I have seen a lot of like clip for length in like the round robin stuff, but maybe that's not. I mean, obviously, since Tumblr is so large, there's not like a standardization of anything.
Yeah.
Like
and Anat says that, on the other hand, narrative gift sets are the legit best new Tumblr narrative fan work thing. And I would agree with that. Yeah, because, like, there's nothing really... It's sort of unique to Tumblr. I mean, I've never seen, an AU gift set anywhere else, ever.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. What other things do you guys think that we could, like, invent on Tumblr? Maybe have a curveball to throw you guys, but...
Like, yo, which one of y'all has a bird?
That's not me.
Oh, that's me. That's me.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I was just wondering. New things that, like, well, I do like even without gift sets, when people just do like static image AUs and stuff, that's cool.
I like when people do the either the gift sets or just static images for fanfic. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. When they like illustrate a fic or do like scenes from fics.
Yeah. Oh, I like the people who do like movie posters and book covers and stuff. Those
oh
are
God,
cool.
yes,
Those
I
are
love
cool.
it.
Oh, I just found. Yeah, I just was I found it showed up on my dash this cool Tumblr that does like magazine covers and like fake media of Avengers. So it's like here's a bunch of Time covers.
Yeah, I saw that on your feed actually. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
They love fandom stuff like that. I remember people doing things like that for like Big Bangs and stuff. But,
yeah.
The idea of like a whole kind of like, I don't know, people getting together on Tumblr and doing all those kind of things, like that's exciting, I think.
Yeah.
There's also like, I don't want to say that this is something that Tumblr is originating, but it's something that Tumblr is I guess people are getting together and doing it on Tumblr. Like the giant fan casting things. Have you guys seen these? Like basically like their theater, like podfic theater, where they'll hold auditions for parts and they'll essentially like write a fanfic as a radio play, like a teleplay. And they'll hold auditions on Tumblr and cast the parts and then put it together.
The only thing I've seen that's similar to that is people who are doing like a radio show of It's Walkie, and other David Willis comics, but that sounds really cool.
Yeah, like I know they were doing one for a Mad Laurie Sherlock fic, Performance in a Leading Role, I think was the name of the fic. Mm-hmm. And I know that they're doing some others too, but I don't know what they are off the top of my head. But yeah, like these really like elaborate group efforts. I think that the Teen Wolf zine that they just put out.
Necks and Throats?
Yeah, that's amazing.
That was pretty cool.
That's like jaw dropping. And I don't know that all these things are like coming from Tumblr, but Tumblr definitely seems to be a part of the culture around them.
Anat just said, I think another Tumblr native sort of thing is the cumulative gag or parody. I think that's true. Like, There's a lot of
and
I
the
guess
memes too, like the
yeah.
memes, the fan art memes that grow and grow. I love those. Oh my god.
Yeah, and I think, although I think a lot of that has roots in just like Reddit has a lot of that stuff with like the rage memes kind of thing. So
Yeah,
But
but the thing
Tumblr
about
makes it
Tumblr memes
like
though is that they're fan art. They're almost always art based. Like not
yeah.
always, but a lot of them. Like the Portal to Hell meme that I'm using as my fan spotting logo today.
Hmm.
For those of you who aren't familiar, this artwork is taken from a meme called the Portal to Hell that started with a bunch of people like pasting, like using gifs, like the random internet gifs of people following through, like falling through things and then disappearing.
Yeah,
Like it
those
was
are
a Reddit.
terrifying. Sorry.
Yeah, it was a Reddit GIF initially, and somebody made it so it looked like they were disappearing into like this bottomless pit. And then Tumblr took it and made a whole bunch of fan art like sets around it that imagined that the guy, like this, like people were actually falling into hell, and Satan was just sitting there, you know, sipping his martini, being like, I thought I fixed the leak in that roof." So yeah, stuff like that, like the things that just sort of grow and grow.
And they're also like the jokes that continue.
Yeah, and like the mini fandoms like Jupiter and Creamsicle.
Yeah.
I mean, you can argue that those are memes and not fandom, but I think this is the first time that like a meme has ever like also generated fan work along with it, right?
I don't know. I mean, there's definitely like sort of some meme images and stuff happening on like DeviantArt and that kind of stuff, but I think Tumblr kind of
Maybe
escalates
it's
it.
more mainstream on Tumblr.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like with DeviantArt, like you can't really share the art as much unless it's posted to a community, and unless
Yeah,
like
I was about to say the communities on DeviantArt are pretty big, so
yeah.
I think
We only
Tumblr
have 2
also makes
minutes.
people like reach out and engage with other like fandom sites like the AO3
Yeah,
thing, and there's like a Teen Wolf fan art contest that's being hosted on DeviantArt because it has like all the things that you
right.
can use, but it's like mostly being promoted on Tumblr.
Yeah, yeah. Also, there's stuff like the what was I gonna say? I don't remember what I was gonna say. Some business that's using Tumblr as like a launchpad for its book. I don't remember the name of it, but yeah, there are a lot of publishers that are coming to Tumblr to sort of promote their books and sort of even try and get books off the ground.
Yeah.
And we only have 2 minutes, and Erin has to go. So I want to thank you guys for listening. Is there anybody else who has anything they'd like to say about Tumblr before we do our favorite things?
Did you get to do a shout out to the Bun B's rap coloring and activity book? Because that's my favorite.
No, talk about it.
So Bun B is from the Houston rap group UGK, and he's also a professor at Rice University. But him and artist whose name I'm gonna have to look up. Collaborated on this, it started on Tumblr, and it's Bun B's Jumbo Coloring and Rap Activity Tumblr, and that's literally what it is. It's like coloring book pages with rappers and activities, drawn by Shay Serrano. Yeah, I think that's where and now it's a book that you can pre-order on Amazon, but basically it was just like, here's a Tumblr, because Tumblr is like the correct venue for these things to get like a lot more exposure. So yeah, they got picked up by a publisher, but it's really cool if you like rap / weird art projects.
Yeah, we didn't
I'd be
really
down
get a
with
chance
that.
to talk about like the music subculture on Tumblr, but there's like a thriving hip hop community and in the thriving rap community and like an indie underground sort of vibe there, and I really like it.
And oh my god, Rap Industry Fanfiction was my favorite Tumblr before they went on
Yes.
hiatus, which is like amazeballs. Yeah, the music community on Tumblr is great, and it's like a super cool way to find new shit to listen to.
So would that be your favorite thing on fandom this week?
Yeah, the fact that Bun B's Jumbo Rap coloring book and activity book is like gonna be like a real thing I can purchase and color with crayons. Hells yeah! So y'all should check that out. It's rapcoloringbook.tumblr.com.
Cool. All right, Erin, what's your favorite thing in fandom this week?
Oh, probably anything involving Hannibal. I'm like obsessed with Hannibal right now. But I guess I'm a really, really, really gorgeous Hannibal fan art that I can see popping up. Um, because like every time Hannibal was like utterly terrifying, and you can see people who create this like also utterly terrifying fan art, and I just really like that. It's just amazing. And also, even though I know that the people have issues with this because of mental illness, they will grant check you with checklists and all amazing, and I'm still laughing about it. Even though I know it's problematic, I feel like it's very fun because people are very weird.
Oh, I was waiting for you to like say something else. But, are you done? I guess we're done. Sorry. I'm having trouble hearing you. I was like, she said problematic and then stopped. I was like, okay. I am trying to find my favorite thing on fandom this week. It's a whip. A whip. Do you guys say whip or work in progress? By who's the author? It's this thing I was just telling Aaron about. It's called Burn It Down by Red Cat 512. And it's an Arthur Ames Inception fanfic, and it's a work in progress, but it's up to like chapter 11, and there's like 18,000 words, and it's just a really slow like world building, but the way that she approaches the jobs and the way that Dreamshare works is really interesting. Like at one point she has Arthur go into the dream, only he's not himself because like his subconscious can't like interact with Ian's subconscious because they think in like basically Arthur thinks cognitively and Eames thinks like Eames. And so it like produces like an interesting like neurological reaction when Eames is in when Arthur is in Eames' dream. And it's just a really interesting way of thinking about the way that Dreamshare works on the brain, and I love it. I also love that I'm actually doing fandom spotting for the first time in forever. So we've been having some rough spots, like I said at the beginning, and we are going to keep like working on those, and hopefully eventually we'll get our main account back and YouTube won't ban us again. But in the meantime, thank you guys for joining us today. Thank you, Aaron and Laurel, for hopping on and ranting with me about Tumblr.
Thank you.
If that's it, and we will see you guys next week. Does anybody know what our next scheduled hangout is? Anybody? We'll find something and then we'll do it. We're doing Hannibal soon, so keep an eye on that. All right, thanks guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.